Hi everyone. Today we shall try to study transport in cells. All living cells will exhibit this phenomena called transport in cells, where molecules, ions, and then the water, all these materials, they go inside the cell and come out of the cell. Whatever present inside the cell is called intracellular fluid, and whatever is outside that cell is called extracellular fluid. Extracellular fluid and intracellular fluid are separated by means of plasma membrane, or what we call cell membrane. Let us try to understand some of these phenomena in the living systems. Some important concepts need to be understood before we can explain or answer the questions on transport in cells. Some of the important areas are the meaning of concentration gradient. In that, you have hypertonic solution, isotonic solution, hypotonic solution, intracellular fluid, extracellular fluid, then diffusion, osmosis, active transport, and some of the important areas, especially in red blood cells or in plants, phenomena like plasmolysis, crenation, and cytolysis also will appear in the examination. Therefore, we shall try to study these things. Look at this diagram. I have written this diagram just to explain the basic concepts which you already know. There is a cell inside, I have written in the blue color, having a nucleus, and the cell has a boundary, and that is shown in black ink and called cell membrane or plasma membrane. And outside the plasma membrane you have another circle indicating small dots, filled with small dots, and that is exterior of the cell or outside the cell. Both inside and outside we have fluids, and these fluids mostly water and might contain certain solutes, maybe potassium, then sodium, hormones, chemicals. Like that, there are many materials both inside and outside. All this will be in the form of molecules, ions. Mostly these molecules and ions will be moving from inside to outside, from outside to inside through cell membrane. And this is a very important area that we have to understand. Let us go to next PPT. Three diagrams I have written here, labeled A, B, C. They are beakers. Inside the beakers, there is some solution, and also a hypothetical cell is placed inside. A living cell is placed inside. That is shown in blue color, and the red color is inside the cell is the nucleus. Cell has a boundary called cell membrane. Outside there is a solution called extracellular fluid shown in different colors. In A it is blue, in B it is green, in C it is yellow, indicating there is some difference between them. Let us know in A what it contains. Now we are talking about two things. Cell contains cytoplasm. Outside there is a liquid or a fluid. Cytoplasm contains many things, but we take only two things into consideration. That is, cytoplasm in A has 90% water and 10% salt, whereas outside 80% water is there and 20% salt is there. Try to study this. 90% water and 80% water. Which one has more water? I think 90% has more water and less solute or less particles. So when once this type of a thing happens, we call that hypertonic solution. We say cell is in the hypertonic solution. In the B, cytoplasm contains 90% water and 10% salt. Outside, it has 90% water and 10% salt. Both water and salt densities are equal, and that's called isotonic condition. So the cell is placed in isotonic solution. In C, you have cytoplasm containing 80% water and 20% salt. Outside, it is 90% water and 10% salt. But when you look at it, we know that the cell inside has less water and more salt, and outside more water and less salt. And this condition is called hypotonic. That means the cell is placed in a fluid where outside water is more and salt is less. This, if you understand carefully, then explaining osmosis, diffusion, all this movement will be very easy. Now let us try to understand the term concentration gradient. In cell systems, concentration gradient results from the unequal distribution of ions, molecules, and water in any cell system. Example, gas between two regions, water between two areas, ion between two regions. It may be inside the cell or outside the cell. So between the two cells, there may be difference in concentrations. In the intracellular fluid, that is solution inside the cell, or extracellular fluid, there may be ions, molecules, and other particles may be present. Some of them are called solutes, and mostly liquid will be water. So when there is a distribution of these things in different concentrations, then there will be unequal distribution of these molecules. This imbalance of molecules and ions between the two solutions drives molecules and ions to move from highly dense area to a lesser dense area. The movement is an attempt to establish equilibrium and eliminate the imbalance of concentrations between the two areas in the cells. So you must try to understand that there will be an imbalance sometimes, and imbalance is always, or unequal distribution is always maintained in cells, but to make cells equal or to have equal distribution, there will be movement of molecules, and this sometimes is called homeostasis. In any biological system, usually two different types of molecular or movements of materials will be seen. One is called passive transport, other is called active transport. Passive transport will take place between intracellular fluid and the extracellular fluid, or maybe within the cells in the regions, especially of the cellular ingredients, or what we call organelles. In the passive transport of molecules or particles, no energy is required. That's why it's called passive. Whereas in the active transport, cellular energy is used, ATP molecules are broken into ADP, and then it will be, the molecules or ions will be carried in and to the inside of the cell by means of spending energy, and that's why it's called active transport. Now, diffusion is a kind of transport where solute particles like gas molecules and water molecules move from in dense system to lesser dense system, rarer medium, and that may involve no energy at all. Therefore, it is a transport called passive transport. It may be different types it happen in. For example, it may happen in lungs or in the blood, where oxygen and carbon dioxide might diffuse from one region to another region. Similarly, there may be movement of carbon dioxide and oxygen in stomata of the plant cells. So molecules move from higher regions to lower region. This happens without spending the energy. That is one example to diffusion. And sometimes the fat soluble molecules move from denser area to lower denser area. That is, they move from inside of the cell to the outside of the cell. I have shown in the diagram there, the blue two lines indicate the plasma membrane, and there is a red stomata-like material written, and that is the region of the cell membrane where some molecules might get in. Diffusion directly, that means molecules can move from outside to inside. Similarly, fat molecules which are dissolved may move outside. So try to remember, diffusion does not require any energy. Another type of passive transport is called facilitated diffusion. In this one, movement of molecules takes place across the plasma membrane with the help of transport proteins. You see the diagram I have written. Similar, same thing like diffusion, but in this case, molecules do not move free on their own. They require the help of some proteins. Therefore, it's called facilitated diffusion. And then in the next one, I have shown the diagram of a Bowman's capsule present in the urinary system. There, another type of passive transport happens called filtration. In the filtration, you see the blood capillaries are there. Blood might contain different types of materials. Some of them may be ions, some of them may be hormone, some of them may be biochemical molecules, also lot of water, also oxygen. All these things will be present in the blood. And when it comes to the Bowman's capsule, what happens is from the system inside inside you find a red ball-like structure. From that system, water molecules will move into the capsule-like structure that's called Bowman's capsule, and from there they get into what's called proximal tube, nearest tube. That means there is a filtration here. In the filtration, all the solute particles are kept inside. By chance, if any hormone or any other ions get into the Bowman's capsule, it is reabsorbed in the large, very long tubule called urinary tubule, and it is taken back into the blood system. It's called reabsorption. So this type of movement of molecules and ions also is ultrafiltration. It does not require any energy. Now in diffusion, mostly movement of solute particles will be seen, and also gas molecules will be seen. Now coming to the next important movement of molecule, especially water molecules, this also does not require any energy. It's called osmosis. It's about movement of solvent, that is water alone, moves from higher concentration to lower concentration. That means wherever there is water molecules more compared to the other area, water molecules move through semi-permeable membrane. Please remember, osmosis is an important concept. They may ask you questions on that. Osmosis is seen in almost all the living cells. But examples given in the books will be root hairs absorb water through or by osmosis. From there, the molecules of water or the entire column of water may move in the xylem tissue. That is different. We are not talking about that in this particular lesson. Here is a diagram showing you active transport. See, well, explaining it is only very simple explanation we give, but this type of biochemical reactions are very complicated in the cell. You look at the cell membrane, it contains two layers of phospholipid molecules, and in between there will be some other protein molecules. They will work like pores. From such area, you find molecules from lower concentration. In this case, the red ball-like structure outside 4 are there. Inside you can see there are more, 2, 4, 6, 8 are there. So inside the density is more, outside the density is less. But the outside molecules are required for the cell. Therefore, such molecules move into the cell via that small pore-like structure by spending energy, and the energy will be spent in the form energy will be spent from adenosine triphosphate molecule, where they find last phosphate breaks and energy is produced. A lot of energy is produced. Maybe from one ATP molecule, 36 ATP, 30 a bundle of energy is produced. Let me put it that way. And this type of transport is called active transport. It happens in almost all living cells. There are three concepts explained here. This may not be given in your textbooks, but try to remember that. One is called crenation, plasmolysis, and cytolysis. These three phenomena may be happening in the living system. Mostly we find cytolysis and crenation in red blood cells. Red blood cells are very special because they do not contain nucleus. Their life is very, very limited. Let's see what they are. These three phenomena happen due to imbalance in osmosis. That means imbalance happens because of the distribution of molecules between inside and outside will be different. You know, when you say osmosis, it is the movement of water molecules. So difference in the concentration of water will make these three phenomena to happen. What is crenation? Shrinking of red blood cells due to loss of water. Red blood cells may lose water contained in them and they shrink. They look like stars. It's a kind of a disease. Let me not go into the details here. Plasmolysis indicates plasma means the membrane, outside membrane. Lysis means breaking down or shrinking. In plant cells, cytoplasm shrinks. You know, plant cells contain a very large vacuole, and the vacuole will contain some liquid, and then outside the plasma membrane there will be cytoplasm, and this cytoplasm will contain water. Sometimes water from the cytoplasm comes outside the cell. In that condition, what happens is the cell shrinks in size. That means the plasma, the cytoplasm becomes lesser and lesser, and it starts shrinking. And this type of shrinking of cytoplasm, where even vacuole becomes smaller, is known as wilting. So the cells may wilt, and then resulting in the leaves may wilt. Cytolysis refers to bursting of red cells, especially by absorbing more water. These three are there. They may come for multiple choice questions. Credits. I have taken some material from internet. It is described in slide 2. I have shown from where I have taken that. Similarly, slide 4, the beakers, the outer beaker and the colored material is taken from the Creative Commons. Again, Creative Commons in slide 7, and slide 8 contains some material from the YouTube. My thanks are due to all the resources. Thank you all.